Hi, I'm Mika.
Hi, I'm Ofer. We are the land managers at TDF, even though we've been talking about calling it land caregiver instead of land manager. We've been practicing permaculture 6 years together. And before that, each one of us, maybe 3-4 years separately.
Yeah, something like that.
We're here to talk about permaculture. There's a lot of definitions. I guess like most of them start with it's a design system. Yes, it's not an ideology, it's not a way of life, it's a design system. But it's also kind of like an ideology and a way of life, I guess.
And a way of looking at things and interpreting them.
My favorite definition of permaculture is that it's a revolution disguised as gardening.
In permaculture, we design living habitats, like whole ecological systems that are fruitful and beautiful and
diverse and abundant
and stable.
And a lot of it is about thinking long term and thinking about the whole picture, not isolating one thing in the place we live in that we're trying to get, but try to think of the whole complex balance of interactions that there is between us, our surroundings, animals, plants, the climate, etc. Permaculture aims to design systems that will last for hundreds of years, and do it by imitating and emulating nature, natural patterns, natural designs.
And doesn't require a lot of work to maintain.
Yeah, and circular, like there's like a certain patterns of cycles in nature that by creating sometimes creating, sometimes kickstarting, sometimes just not doing anything and allowing cycles to happen.
What does it mean that we design TDF according to permaculture principles and ideas? So the chickens here are combined with the veggie garden and with the kitchen to improve all of these three elements together, and they feed each other. In the veggie garden, we grow vegetables that go to the kitchen. It's really nearby. People eat them, and the kitchen scraps go to the chickens. Now the chickens go through these kitchen scraps. We built compost piles in the chicken coop. And so the chickens help us by just doing what chickens do, which is scratch and peck and look for food. And they manure into the compost, enriching it with more nitrogen. Chickens make sure that no flies or any other disturbing insects multiply in the compost. They break it down, they scratch it, they make our compost into a very fine, grated, enriched, beautiful, and very fast compost. Like we make about a cubic meter of compost here every 2 weeks, something like that.
Every month.
Every month. Yeah, and we can greatly improve the rate if we just bring more chickens.
It will be 2 weeks eventually.
Eventually it will. So, and the compost just goes into the very near garden, from the garden to the kitchen and back, and it's a closed circle that feeds itself, that makes more and more productiveness, more and more yield, more and more happiness for the chickens, because they get food that is very diverse. They have relatively a large place to be in, and all day long they just do what they like to do, which is digging in compost piles.
Yeah, so basically instead of buying food for the chickens and that comes from somewhere else, and buying fertilizer that comes from somewhere else, and buying vegetables that come from somewhere else, we are creating less inputs by creating our own fertilizer, creating our own chicken food, creating our own food. Eventually, we will connect the chickens also to the fruit tree area, and over there they will eat insects and prevent pest cycles. So instead of thinking of a chicken as a way to get eggs, we're thinking of the way that the attitude, like that the natural things that a chicken does,
We think
how
about
it helps us in our processes, and how what we create in other places can help the chickens live their everyday lives and
benefit everybody. Another thing that we can see here that is very permaculture is the amount of mulch that we pile on the veggie beds. Because another creature, or like a plethora of creatures that help us in making food, is the microbiology in the soil. Actually, we see the amount of life and diversity inside the soil as like a precursor or an indicator, or like this is what makes the soil fertile. The fact that it has so much life in it. This is what feeds the vegetables or the trees or whatever we do here. So
there is a saying about how you're not growing plants, you're growing soil. You're growing healthy soil, and the healthy soil, like the plants will basically come by themselves once the soil is healthy. So we practice several different practices that are part of permaculture and part of regenerative agriculture in general, which is we turn the soil as little as possible or nothing. We mulch on top of it all the time, so we all the time add organic material that will break down into more soil. And also protect the soil itself. This is also, it's imitating natural processes, like trees drop their leaves and create this mulch and protection around them. And we're doing the same thing in a much faster pace, I guess. Okay?
In straight lines.
Yes. Not only in straight lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Permaculture is really like curvy lines.
Yeah. And also, I think I would say that the veggie garden is probably the least permaculture part in a permaculture homestead.
And yet.
Yeah.
We grow diversity. We don't dedicate one bed to one crop, but we grow, the lettuce together with the cabbages, together with the beetroots, and we allow some weeds to grow in the garden because we appreciate their support of the whole system.
And this is true everywhere. We will not grow only one fruit tree in order to sell a lot of one specific thing, but instead the plan is to grow as much variety as possible. First of all, thinking of self-consumption, and only later every place ends up having some kind of yield, some kind of excess. Just when you have a really abundant system, then there will be things that there's too much of, or that there's enough of, in order to create a product, let's say. But we aim for diverse systems, many different kinds of fruit trees, many trees that are not fruiting trees. It can be trees for timber. It can be just local species to add biodiversity and add more homes for animals, home for birds. One of the permaculture principles is value edges and the marginal. And by adding more diversity, by adding more bushes and trees and different types, and even just adding piles of different materials, piles of branches, piles of leaves, piles of rocks, you're creating a lot of different types of niches that...
Habitats.
Yeah, niches and habitats that then wildlife can go into. There's a pretty central part of permaculture design is the zones. You design a permaculture space in concentric zones from the most intensive place, which is usually the place you live, the house, to the least intensive place where
you just let
Yeah, you
things
can.
happen. You
Yeah.
just let nature take its course and be wild there.
It's basically a nature reserve, and it's an important part of any permaculture homestead or permaculture space is to have an area that you don't touch, both so that you can go and be in a place where you don't think all the time what you can change, and also a place that will be inspiring, a place where you can look at processes that are happening without intervening and learn from it. And also living space for the non-human world. Okay, the idea isn't to take advantage of every little bit of resource and space for yourself, but try to share in a fair way. Which I guess brings us.
Yeah, in TDF, that's 50%, at least 50% of the area will be for rewilding.
Yeah, the idea is to not touch at all. Maybe spread seeds of local species, but even that is we're not sure yet if it's the plan or not. A few words about the ethics of permaculture, which are very central and kind of like the base of all action that you choose to take. People care.
People care, environment care,
Yeah, or earth care.
earth care,
Yeah.
and fair share.
Yeah,
Like,
which fair share is also known as future care.
but it's fair share not just between humans, but also between humans and other creatures, and like between our generation and the next generation. Yeah, just not to be greedy, because
Yeah.
there's enough for everybody, but not enough for everybody's greed.
I think something that's very interesting in permaculture ethics is that it's a system that creates a lot of abundance, but it's also somewhat minimalistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's making do with what you have and making things by yourself. You're actually creating so much abundance that you're both need a lot less and consume a lot less, but you're actually richer.
Permaculture could be around a lot of things that are not necessarily agriculture. For me, like the costume closet here, the Cabineto Transformación here, has something to do with permaculture, because people bring all their like wackiest clothes and they just leave them here so other people can have a party. But it's like we share a weird resource, but it brings a lot of joy, a lot of color to this place.
Yeah, and people are very much central in permaculture. It's about community creation. It's about living with people that are with you in the same place and your local surroundings, and connecting, like working together, connecting between people that are working for a shared goal.
Like
a very big part of it. And creating places that are pleasant to live in. Places that, we get everything we need, and
it's pretty.
Yes, beauty is one thing we need.
Working with permaculture had made me learn like a really wide variety of skills. I can do some animal husbandry and grow vegetables and make a meal for 20 people, and
build a chicken coop.
Yeah, work with electricity, work with plumbing. Some people can sing, some people can dance, and these are all like qualities and skills that are helpful for the community, and it's thriving. So we appreciate in the chicken all the wide range of behaviors and needs and outputs and whatever the chicken is and does. We also, of course, appreciate it in other people around us.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the way of looking at things in permaculture is about looking at whole organisms looking at their needs, looking at their desires, looking at what they create, looking at their patterns, and try to create a place that fits each one of them, and chief among them, and the humans.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, also with one thing I like about permaculture and humans in general, it's that it makes our existing on the planet not exploitive and destructive, but harmonious. Like even our shit is not considered waste and pollution and sewage. It's a very
important
resource that feeds our fruit trees in a very simple process.
Yeah. And also our supposedly wastewater, what would go to the sewage. Instead of that, we filter it through a system of gravel and sand and plants, and then irrigate with it our reforestation project, in which we plant local trees, local bushes, and bring back more diversity of trees that were here for hundreds and thousands of years, and now you don't see them that much. We're just creating that by using something that in many places is just thrown away. Another thing that I would say is very central in permaculture is the pace. The aim is to slow down, not run to immediate goals. Slow down to the pace in which nature works. Because like a tree, no matter what you do, it will take 10, 20 years to grow and to get to its full size. And plants just work at a completely different time scale than us, especially than in today's world. And there's like this famous saying that the only tool you need in the first year of a permaculture plan and design is a hammock. Because like you're supposed to just lay in the hammock and just look at things, wait a whole year, wait the 4 seasons, look at the place very, very deeply, observe patterns, observe how climate changes, observe the different plants, the wild plants, wild animals, observe the water moving across the land. Only after you've been in a place for long enough and have seen it in different seasons, have seen it in different climate events, then you should really start to plan where to put what, where to plant what. Because again, the idea is that when you make a plan, it's a plan that will last hundreds of years, and you want things to be in the right place. And this includes water bodies, this includes roads and trails and all of the different ways in which things move inside the land. It includes structures and buildings that serve different purposes, greenhouses, stables, the house, a restaurant, cafe, gym, tree nursery, co-working area, permaculture school. Many different structures.
Zip line.
A zip line is a structure? It's an element. I think it's one of the secondary principles, like stacking functions. Okay, so like every element can serve multiple functions, and every major function is served by multiple elements. So you're creating this complex interaction of different things that create the same effect, and different effects that each one of them is created by different things. It's this complicated web of interconnectivity between everything that creates a living space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes the whole system more stable and resilient to outside forces.
Yeah. One of the principles of permaculture is plan for disaster. Plan as if the worst rainstorm that there's been in the last 100 years, plan as if it's going to happen in the next 10 years, and be ready for it.
Yeah. Plan the land to not catch fire from nearby land.
Yeah.
Plan that if there's a drought, then you have like 4 different resources of water.
Yeah, and think in advance. Like one of the things we're planning to do here is we will plant fruit trees that are dealing with the amount of rainfall that there is that will fit with the amount of rainfall there is right now, and catch as much water as we can to feed plants, to feed the soil, and also to feed the groundwater. But at the same time, we will also plant a lot of cacti. That if in 20 years there will be 300 less millimeters per year, then we will already be ready with different sources of food that can grow with half the amount of rainfall. So again, it's planning for diversity, it's planning for disaster, it's thinking long term. Also, the prickly pears, they serve so many purposes.
Yeah.
You know, like you can eat the leaves, you can eat the fruit, you can use them for
privacy screen. Wild animals don't cross it because it's prickly, and
they're
even
fire retardant.
Fire retardant because they hold so much water that they're like a natural fire break.
Yeah, they're good as a windbreak. They're good as a fire break.
Mm-hmm.
They're good to impermeabilize. When you build with adobe or with mud, with cob,
wow. Yeah,
you can put a layer of that on top to make it impermeable.
Such a useful plant.
Yeah, and it's hardy, very hardy. Many times we fall in love with certain aspects of our plan, and we think that something is really going to work, and we just kind of like go ahead with it, no matter what the results. And the idea is that things will happen. Like you'll try some things, different things will work, different things will not work, and you're kind of in this constant learning. There's just work on a permaculture project, on a permaculture homestead, especially one as large as TDF, is just this endless complexity and variety of little things. And it's all the time keeping your mind and your eyes open and seeing if looking at your surroundings and seeing if what you're doing is actually creating a positive change and actually working and and part of it is also about working slow. Let's say there's something like 7 hectares here that we're planning an orchard on. So once we will plan the whole 7 hectares in advance, but then we will do 1 hectare. Wait a whole year, see how it's working, and then the next year maybe do 2 hectares. And then again, give it a whole year, see. At that point, you have 3 hectares that you can look at. Yeah, trial and error, action and feedback. You should do 99% planning and 1% action, which I think is an exaggeration, but it drives the point home of like, think very well before you do, and then after you do, keep thinking, keep observing, and react according to like what actually is happening.